Welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. Happy Thanksgiving to all of my friends in the United States of America. For everybody else, happy Thursday. I appreciate everybody stopping by, saying hello to a good friend. Of course, this is being recorded the day before, so hopefully we all can sit around the campfire and enjoy AEW Dynamite from November 22nd, 2023. Before we get into that show, however, WrestleNomics dropped some new information about the live gates for AEW Wrestle Dream and other events. So we're going to talk about that for a little bit and maybe some other notes that have been floating about over the last couple of hours. We're not going to get into the Continental Classic because I refuse to concern myself too much with that tournament. So let's get into this. So November 21st, Brandon Thurston posted the Wrestle Dream AEW live gate. That is how much they made off ticket sales. So it says the AEW Wrestle Dream pay-per-view event on October the 1st in Seattle sold 7,108 tickets, drawing $533,717. According to new Polestar data, that implies a calculated average ticket sold of $75. Then it says the Collision taping the night before in the same venue sold 4,933 tickets, generating $235,652. WrestleTix estimates of tickets distributed were slightly lower at 6,771 for Wrestle Dream and 4,417 for Collision. So before we get into the rest of these events, just looking at these numbers, Tony Khan took an absolute bath on both of these shows. Now, there's question marks flying over my head. I mean, the question marks got wings, baby. I sincerely hope that Tony Khan made a lot of money in merchandise, and I really hope there was a lot of pay-per-view buys, because there is no way you can even partially cover your production costs with the amount of tickets sold. I mean, $533,000 in tickets. Well, maybe let's round it up to the nearest, thousand. So $534,000. That's not good. Less than 8,000 tickets sold. That's not, for a pay-per-view event, not good. Not good at all. Even when you combine it with Collision, between the two events, they sold 12,000, maybe 13,000 tickets. It begs the question, why wouldn't you just go to Wrestle Dream and save yourself some money? Why go to Collision at all? Now, I'm pretty sure there was probably some people who were double dipping who went to both. But if it were me, I'd just go to Wrestle Dream. Why even bother going to Collision? Now, they do have more event numbers for AEW. So AEW Revolution, which was March the 5th, 2023 in San Francisco, tickets sold 7,958. So about 8,000 tickets. Not bad. For a gate of $737,000. A calculated average ticket was $92.61. For AEW Double or Nothing, which was May 28th, 2023 in Las Vegas, Nevada, they sold 10,500 tickets, thereabouts, for a live gate of $964,349. That's infinitely better, if we're being honest. That's actually quite good, because that's almost $1 million gate. The calculated average ticket sold was $92.04. Then it continues saying the Forbidden Door and All In. AEW announced information that hasn't been independently confirmed with Polestar or any other non-AEW sources. So apparently independent sources are coming up with the live gate figures and the average tickets. But for Forbidden Door, which was in Canada, and for All In, which was, of course, in the UK, they can't get verified information from a third party. So I'm assuming Polestar. I'm not sure who that is or what that is. Maybe I should have looked that up. But apparently they're only doing it in the United States. But they said Forbidden Door, which was June 25th, sold a $1.2 million gate. And then they said on August 27th, Wembley Stadium sold 81,131 tickets in a $10 million gate. Again, with the asterisk, with the 81,131 tickets, because I'm not willing to believe 10,000 people bought tickets and didn't show up. Again, we're just not gonna go that route. But a $10 million gate, if that happened, if that occurred, that'll keep the lights on. Absolutely, it'll keep the lights on. They said they don't have the information for All Out in Chicago, which was in September. And but Tony Khan said that Full Gear in Los Angeles is hovering around a $900,000 gate. Now, $900,000 is a pretty good gate. You know, it's actually not terrible. You know, WWE almost always throws a party when they get $1 million gate. And here it is that they got $1 million gate, well, near $1 million gate with Double or Nothing. And that was pretty good. And I think they said they got one with, well, almost one with Full Gear. So that's fine too. So even though they're not selling tickets to their television product, they're at least making some cash on the pay-per-views, which seems to be what, you know, a lot of AEW fans are saying. It's almost like an ECW style program from this point, where the pay-per-views are bolstering the revenue for the company, because ticket sales are slow. But if you keep pumping out pay-per-views and people keep buying them, then at least you got that in your back pocket. People will pay to come to your pay-per-views, and people will buy your pay-per-views. You have a small but dedicated fan base, which makes consistency. Consistency is good in business. You know, you can always count on that 100,000 people or whatever number they said is about the average when it comes to AEW pay-per-views. The problem is, the more of these pay-per-views they have, the more they're going to test that 100,000 people about their ability to buy those pay-per-views. They haven't gone to a monthly pay-per-view schedule yet, but it seems like they're going to get there. And then eventually they're going to start really testing whether they can get these people to stop buying their pay-per-views or not. But for right now, they're doing okay. I just looked at this and said, I don't see how they can't, you know, selling tickets is hard. It's not easy to promote, you know, but when you have all the money that you're spending on marketing and promotions and merchandise and production and talent, I want to see, well, I think I've told you guys this before. I've done some event planning. Very little, very, very little. On a very small scale too. But I could tell you that it's pretty clear when you sit down and you itemize everything, and every show is its own business. And each show has its own revenue and liabilities. So, of course, these are going to change depending on where you are, how much the state wants to take for taxes, how much, you know, how many talent that you choose to use, you know, what their rate is. There's a lot of ins and outs, inputs and outputs into these things. But it's interesting to get some level of transparency, because we can now see that AEW is not doing great, but it ain't doing as bad as everybody thought. So while, you know, they're not making profit off Live Gate alone, but they got to be doing okay. If they keep, you know, increasing their pay-per-view events, then they're doing fine. They stopped doing house shows. You know, they cut that house show business. That stuff is done. I guess they wasn't making nothing off the house shows because they stopped doing them. So they're doing more pay-per-views. They got rid of their house shows, and they're probably going to have a rights renewal with, you know, with a decent increase. Will they make double what they make now? Maybe 1.5. But they're not doing it as bad as everybody thinks. It's just not as good as they were doing. They were doing much better. You know, from my recollection, they were doing much better. You know, maybe 2 years ago, a year and a half ago, they were doing so much better. So we're watching AEW struggle to maintain. They're not falling off a cliff and dying, but they're struggling to maintain. Because I'm pretty sure if we had the information to compare year over year, it was probably better last year. I would imagine. I would imagine that all their major shows would have been better last year. All right, I got one more treat for you guys. There was an opinion piece done in Post Wrestling that I want to talk about. It is the AEW New Japan Pro Wrestling partnership will never be fair, but that's okay. So I'm not going to read you the whole thing here, but I'm going to read a good chunk of it, okay? So here it goes. The fact that AEW was able to broker a deal with Ospreay, that'd be Will Ospreay, months before his current deal came up was another example of the working relationship they have with New Japan. But hold on, that doesn't seem like much of a relationship, does it? It seems more like one taking talent from another. That's not a trade, that's a steal. At least that's what it looks like at face value. Ospreay's signing reignited a discussion that comes up frequently, like when Jay White, Juice Robinson, or Aussie Open jumped from New Japan to AEW, that being if the relationship between AEW and New Japan is fair. The truth is, it's not. But at the same time, it never could be. It has a purpose in the wrestling world. It's a necessary evil. So before we get too far into this is an interesting take that I'm willing to entertain. I'm willing to entertain what this guy has to say on this subject. Because I actually don't look at talent rates the same way as everybody else does. I look at it like it's good for the people underneath, because you take somebody out of the pond, you have the opportunity to rise up. You know, like when Hulk Hogan left, you had the opportunity for Shawn Michaels and Bret Hart and all those guys to step up. Because Hogan left, Piper left, Savage left, and yeah, the crowd complains because all their favorites are gone, but now you have new people coming in, and new people get better opportunities. So I don't look at it the same way everybody else does. Wrestling needs a certain level of churn in order to work. You know, praise God, the Attitude Era ended, or we never would have gotten Brock Lesnar, you know, or Batista, or Randy Orton, or John Cena. And look, no matter what you feel about them, there's only so much Stone Cold Steve Austin and The Rock people can deal with. All right? There's only so much Mick Foley we can handle. So you need to have a certain level of churn. Every few years, probably every 5 to 10 years, it's time for guys to move on. You know, it's good for the business. So let's get back to this article. He says, AEW has leverage over New Japan that makes it easier for them to take talent. The biggest factor is their financial advantage. All signs indicate that they have a much larger budget than New Japan. But on top of that, there are smaller things that attract talent. For American wrestlers, you can imagine the idea of being able to stay within the U.S. instead of lengthy trips across the world numerous times a year is a big plus. And even for Ospreay, a British talent, he believes that being in America is better for him. So, even in partnership with New Japan, there's nothing wrong with AEW using this leverage. It's good, fair competition. These benefits are fair and should be offered to any talent that they want to pursue. But here's the key detail to note. The leverage that AEW has is something that they would use with or without a deal with New Japan. Okay, so now we're getting into an interesting point here. It's possible that we look at the New Japan and AEW partnership the wrong way. It is not this partnership that allows AEW to steal talent from New Japan. Instead, it is a partnership that allows New Japan to get benefits from AEW and lessen the blow that comes with the inevitable talent bleed. New Japan losing talent to more prestigious promotions is not a new thing. But historically speaking, it did not come from working relationships. You may remember in 2016 when WWE took AJ Styles, Shinsuke Nakamura, Luke Gallows, and Carl Anderson in one swoop. What did New Japan get in return? Nothing. Well, hold on. They got rid of Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson. That's a goddamn plus. All right? New Japan don't have to pay Luke Gallows and Carl Anderson anymore. That's a goddamn plus in my book. They got more than WWE did. WWE bought 2 packs of human shit. Back to the article. New Japan business relationship with AEW is better situation than the aforementioned 2016 raid. A big example of this is how former talents can return for one-off events in Japan. On Saturday, Khan spoke about how Ospreay signing with them keeps him in their orbit. So, yeah, Tony Khan, he used interesting terminology when he said that. He said, keep him in the family. Because he's really trying to massage what he's doing to New Japan. And since they're not competitors, direct competitors, I would imagine New Japan shouldn't be too shitty about it. And like the writer says, you know, AEW lends talent to New Japan. So if you need Will Ospreay, you still have access to him. Unlike if WWE, you know, if he signs with WWE, it's over. You know, you can forget it. But at the same time, think about what I said earlier. If you're a younger talent, you want a guy like Will Ospreay to jump ship. You want him to get out of here because then you have the ability to move up. But if he gets to keep his feet on both sides, well, then you're slowing down the growth of talent in New Japan. They could actually be building new talent if you just took him rather than, well, we're going to keep bringing Omega over and Danielson. And therefore, we don't actually have to push our own guys. We don't have to create our own guys anymore. We still have access to the guys we always had. And so the guys that we got now taking bumps in Florida for no money and bumps in Texas for almost no money. Oh, well, sucks to be you guys. You know what I'm saying? So it's probably better off if you just you just take them out, you know? But I don't know. Let's see what more he's got here. The incentive of bringing talent to AEW instead of letting them go whenever they want is the fact that you can bring them back at some point. Of course, we just talked about that. The biggest benefit for New Japan in the partnership is that they are able to borrow talent frequently. Some might not know how often they actually utilize AEW talent. Then he goes through World Tag League, G1 Climax, you know, how they use talent for these tournaments, etc. The issue is certain talent matter. You know, like he's mentioning here, like Orange Cassidy, FTR, AR Fox. I don't know how much the Japanese care about, you know, Wheeler Yuta and Claudio. I don't know. Maybe they do, maybe they don't. But having access to guys like Kenny Omega is important because he's really still a big deal in Japan. Having access to Will Ospreay is a big deal because he's a big deal in Japan. And Chris Jericho because he's a big deal in the business, period. And some other guys too. You know, so I see where he's going with this. I'm feeling them. I'm listening. The bad parts of the New Japan AEW deal are an inevitability that would happen with or without a partnership. New Japan would obviously prefer to never lose any talent that they would like to keep. But at the end of the day, it's something they have to deal with. Their working relationship with AEW won't stop this, but at least it'll give them some benefits and make their talent loss situation a little bit better. A bad deal? Maybe, but also the best deal? Likely. I'm interested that he did not mention that AEW also offers New Japan as, basically it gives them free promotion in the United States. For people who still kind of, look, most of the AEW fan base are familiar with New Japan. That's just a given. You don't got to go into too much detail about that. But for the people who are attracted to wrestling through AEW, who might not venture out into New Japan, doing the Forbidden Door shows, bringing in guys like Tomohiro Ishii or Okada or whatever, it does give New Japan a little bit of a foothold in the United States, just a little bit. Even if they get to put a little flag in the U.S. with or North America, let's say, with the shows with AEW, that's a positive because New Japan has always struggled to sell tickets in the U.S. And they've always partnered with companies, whether it's Ring of Honor or TNA, or even in way in the beyond past with WWF. They've been trying to, with WCW for a few years, they've been trying to get a foothold in the U.S. to break into the United States market because it's such a wonderful market for pro wrestling. The problem is, bringing guys in dribs and drabs, you might be able to catch somebody And, oh, I like this Okada guy. I want to go watch more of what he does. But does that mean that person's going to spend money on New Japan World? Or is it that, yes, I just like him in this environment. I don't really care about the environment that he originally comes from. So you got to think about that too. But I'm surprised that it wasn't mentioned. Something like the Forbidden Door shows actually expose a lot more fans and gives New Japan a foothold in the United States. But New Japan being, you know, a side dish to AEW might be the best that they can do right now. I know they have some guys, you know, like a Tetsuya Naito, who thinks New Japan is the best place in the world and why be second fiddle anywhere else. But I mean, the owners of the company are trying to expand the company. That's their responsibility, you know. So I'm not surprised, but I thought this was an interesting article and I wanted to bring it to you. Anything else we got for you, I'm going to do it in the show. So 21 minutes in, we're finally going to get to AEW Dynamite. All right, so I guess I have to talk about this dipshit tournament. I mean, there's just no way to get away from it because most of the show was the tournament. Oh, brother. Okay, so they picked 12 guys, which is what they promised that they would do. And then they split them into leagues of 6. So 6 on each side, the Blue League and the Gold League. It seems like the Gold League is going to be for Dynamite, and the Blue League is going to be for Collision. So the Blue League is Bryan Danielson, Andrade El Idolo, Brody King, Claudio Castagnoli, Daniel Garcia, and the ROH/New Japan champion, Eddie Kingston. On the Gold League, we have Jon Moxley, Mark Briscoe, Swerve Strickland, Jay Lethal, Roosh, and Jay White. All right, so they also cleared the air on the ROH and New Japan championships, the Triple Crown. So, because I had a little bit of extra time at work, I just let it play in the background while I was doing something else. And Tony Khan explained that the winner of the tournament will get all the championships. So it's not that every Eddie Kingston match will be a title match. It's at the end of the tournament, whomever is the winner will be the Triple Crown champion, ROH World Champion, New Japan Strong Openweight Champion, and the Continental Champion, Continental Classic Champion. Is which continent? Is it North America? Australia? Which continent are you the champion of? Anyway, so tonight we had 3 very long matches. Oh my God, these matches were so long. We're going to go through this. They had points. It's a point system. You get 3 points for a victory and 0 points for a loss, and there's other points, but it doesn't matter. I don't have any interest in a point system. I said this before. I have no interest in a ranking system or a point system when it comes to pro wrestling. It destroys, and unless you can use it strong within the narrative, I don't see the point in doing this. But this is what Tony Khan wants to do. He wants to have a G1. So here's his G1, his version of the G1 climax, you know, so it is what it is. All right, match 1 from the Continental Classic, the Gold League. You like Gold League action? I don't know how many times I heard Gold League action here, Gold League action here. Like, we're supposed to know what that means. Okay, enough complaining about the tournament. Let's just get through it. Swerve Strickland defeated Jay Lethal in a match that felt like it was 15 minutes, and probably longer than that. It might not have been 15 minutes, but I'm pretty sure this was the entire first quarter of the show. You know, with Jay Lethal and Swerve Strickland. Look, you know Swerve was going to win. Why did this match have to be so long? Why? You think you're doing Jay Lethal a favor by making the job 15 minutes? Is that what you think? Because you're really just punishing the fans. Because people are not going to be interested in a one-sided match for 15 minutes. So Swerve wins, despite the fact that he almost got murdered on Saturday, and he got his blood drank. He actually showed up and was able to win a match tonight. Congratulations to Swerve. Match was actually okay. Again, it went way too long. They did, you know, got to do some time management. You got to be smarter than this. This was way too long. The next match from the Gold League was Roosh being defeated by Jay White. Now, this match was actually good. I enjoyed this one. I like both of these guys, so it was a little easier for me to get into. And the other one, I mean, if Jay Lethal was being pushed, I would get behind it. But since he's a jobber to the stars, there's no point in getting too excited. In this match, it literally could have gone either way. But I kind of figured Jay White would win in order to kind of bounce back from his defeat at the pay-per-view. And in the main event, Jon Moxley defeated Mark Briscoe. Mark Briscoe main events 2 weeks in a row, loses 2 weeks in a row. Mark Briscoe ended up Superman out of one of the Death Riders, where he took it and just jumped back up like he was Hawk from the Road Warriors. And then, of course, Jon Moxley kicked out of Mark Briscoe's finish, the Froggy Bow, because we're just two ugly tough guys doing ugly tough guy stuff. Okay, so 3 points to everybody involved. Yay. Look, if you're into this tournament, God bless you. I don't give a shit about this tournament. It's going to bore me to death. I mean, there's no promos. Nobody's talking about this fucking thing. They did the video on the YouTube channel about it, and it was just Tony Khan and Tony Schiavone standing there talking about it. They didn't even let the guys talk for themselves. It was like a video package. I don't think anybody talked about why this was important to them, why they give a shit about this, what's the importance of this. The only person who talked about it was Eddie Kingston, which pretty much gives you a glimpse of who's going to win the tournament. Because if it ain't Eddie Kingston, then... look, everything about this shit was his idea. It was his idea to put the titles on the line. He was sitting there talking about All Japan Pro Wrestling from 1990, whatever, and how all of his heroes were Triple Crowns, so he wants to try to create a Triple Crown too, even though it's not the same thing. You know, those were, I think, world titles that were in the Triple Crown of the All Japan Pro Wrestling Triple Crown. This one is like 1/7 rank belt, the 5th or 6th singles male title. It doesn't even rank among them. And the Ring of Honor World title, which is basically, you know, it's like when you used to give your girlfriends a play ring in middle school or something. You give her like a nice one of those little ring pops. Like, would you be my girlfriend? That's being the Ring of Honor World Champion. It means nothing today. Literally means nothing. But that's what they want to do. They want to create a Triple Crown, so they got it. But the lack of promos and intrigue and drama and all this kind of stuff. And look, I said I was going to stop complaining about this tournament. I promise I will eventually. But it has the same problem that I have with War Games. In so much as these early matches don't mean anything. Because it's round robin. So if you lose... I mean, if you're intricate with the points, I guess. If you're one of these people who want to sit here and create an Excel spreadsheet about who scored who points over how many people, I'm not going to do that. I don't care about that. I don't care about statistics. I'm not putting my fucking money where my mouth is. Whatever Tony Khan said about all the dorks who want a sports-based presentation. How many sports teams actually have a round-robin tournament? I mean, not many. March Madness ain't round-robin. The NFL playoffs ain't round robin. You know, I guess it has to be different from their own heart tournament in some way, I guess. But let me get back onto what I was going to say. Early in the tournament, there's no drama. You just accumulating wins and losses. Things don't actually get dramatic until people start getting mathematically eliminated. And then after that, people can only play spoiler. Somebody's really fighting for something. They're fighting for their tournament life, and there might be some drama there. But there is no drama in, well, it's not over, and they keep beat that into your head. It's not a knockout tournament. It's not over. They're still in it. I'm like, yeah, we got to watch Swerve Strickland go 15, 20 minutes with somebody else on this goddamn list now. Same thing with Jay Lethal. You got to watch that guy go 20 minutes with Jon Moxley in a couple of weeks. Great. Can't wait. Oh, whatever. Look, Oh my God. Let's just move on. The tournament is going to excite certain people. The people who like the G1 Climax, you're going to love this tournament. Somebody like me, I don't care about round robin tournaments. I care about narratives. I care about characters. I care about story. This doesn't have anything so far. The only thing in it is Eddie Kingston wants to be like his heroes. And since I thought he was going to win the tournament when it was announced, I figured he's going to win the tournament. Prove me wrong. Let's move on. Orange Cassidy, Hook, and Katsuyori Shibata was backstage. Orange Cassidy had an announcement. He got interrupted by Wheeler Yuta, who dared to speak. All of this was terrible. Every single bit of it. The long and the short of it is that Wheeler Yuta wants his ROH Pure Championship back, which I forgot he even won. And Shibata has it. So he wants to fight Shibata for it. And he wants to have a Pure Rules match. I don't know if that's going to be on TV. I don't know if that's on ROH TV. I don't know where this Pure Rules match is going to occur, nor do I care because I'm not going to watch it. So, it ended up being a 6-man tag. So, the 6-man tag is thus 2.0 and Jake Hager versus Orange Cassidy, Hook, and Katsuyori Shibata. So, why is 2.0 and Jake Hager still hanging out? I don't know. Anyway, Orange Cassidy, before the bell rings, he made his announcement. He had a Thanksgiving Day surprise for everybody, and it was Danhausen. So Danhausen, he apparently not bootlegging merchandise. He actually is back. And he's back in the exact same role he was in when he left. He just hangs out outside the ring and doing comedy stuff. Like, is this guy a wrestler or what? I've seen Danhausen wrestle matches. He apparently doesn't wrestle in AEW at all. Whatever. Anyway, not like I'm, clamoring for that sweet Danhausen match. I'm just saying. I really don't care about this match because I don't care about anybody in this match. Watching Hook choreograph those arm drags was pretty funny, though. There was a question that was asked on PW Insider about Hook, and I think that was actually a pretty good question. Basically the question was, people thought that Hook was going to be something. But he's been wasting his potential in AEW, and people are like, why is that happening? It's overprotective booking. I feel like we've said this 100 times already. But Hook is definitely not benefiting from being stuck in this place that they got him in. It would definitely be better for him to move forward. In any event, Jake Hager's hat ended up on Danhausen's head, and everybody's like, the purple hat! The purple hat, he's got the purple hat. And this, of course, distracted Jake Hager. And Jake Hager goes outside of the ring. And Danhausen put a curse on him. But then he actually sold the curse like he got punched in the stomach. And I was like, let's wrap this up. Like, let's please just wrap this up before I get mad. And they didn't. They didn't wrap it up that quickly. Ended up ending eventually, but my God in heaven, this lasted forever. Next, 2.0, they weren't done. They were going to go out and hang out with Anna Jay, who I forgot existed. Pretty girl, no personality. I forgot she existed. They started complaining about losing the match, about Jake Hager's hat and all this other stuff. Then Anna Jay says that she's not sure if those guys are there to help her or to hurt her. And it's about her. She just wants to wrestle. And she just wants to be a champion. And she's going to go out there and help herself by hurting somebody else. Her promo skills and charisma are better than Julia Hart and Sky Blue. She is. She actually has a little bit of personality. Now, one of the angles going into this next match is that Skinny 2.0, Greasy Head 2.0, apparently has a crush on Ruby Soho, or she has a crush on him. I don't know how that works. But going into this match, she's supposed to, she being Anna Jay, is supposed to be able to trust these two guys to have her back. But this one guy is infatuated with one of her opponents. So going into this triple threat match, in which Sky Blue, Ruby Soho, and Anna Jay, they wrestled, but outside the ring, there's a lot of shenanigans. It was Skinny 2.0 making, love eyes at Ruby Soho. It was Fat 2.0 cheating, trying to help Anna Jay. Then there was Saraya yelling at Ruby about Skinny 2.0. And it was all just a whole lot of mid-wrestling as all this was going on. Now, if I actually cared about these people or had a reason to care, all the drama would actually be useful. But since I don't know why Skinny 2.0 likes Ruby Soho, I've never seen them interact on television before outside of matches in which, he distracts her, which is exactly what happened here. Anna Jay hasn't been on TV in months, literally months. And since they were in Chicago, I figured Sky Blue was going to win. And that's what happened. Sky Blue pinned Anna Jay. So, I don't know if this is a #1 contenders match for the women's title or the TBS belt. I have no idea. But Sky Blue just lost at the pay-per-view in a triple threat match. So now she's back at... you win one, you lose one. So she's back in this position now. Anna Jay has something. And I do think that there is something with Anna Jay. I'm not sure how you get it out of her, but there's something there. Ruby Soho, man, what an interesting situation that turned out to be, huh? She came in with so much piss and fire, and everybody was so excited. And now, she's in a love triangle. She's arguing with Saraya about Skinny 2.0. Hot. Oof. Oh, buddy. That's no good. That's no good. But, the booty butt cheeks was out, Sky Blue, I salute thee. Anna Jay, what is it? What she say? Big ass, bad attitude. Fat ass, bad attitude. Not quite fat, but bad attitude, maybe. Maybe if I saw more of her, I would agree. Let's move on. MJF and Adam Cole, baby, was sitting out ringside. Man, Adam Cole, what's up with all the gray? He's 5 years younger than me. I occasionally find a gray hair in my head or in my beard. When I occasionally find a gray hair. This sumbitch, he looked like Father Time out here. What is up with that? Is it poor genetics? Is it, running on the road, not getting enough sleep? He looked like a damn pig farmer or something like that. One of these good old boys from from Appalachia or something. Jesus. Anyway, MJF didn't have nothing to say initially. It was just putting him in front of the crowd. Adam Cole was concerned about his ankle. He's nowhere near ready. But he was more concerned about MJF because MJF no longer has anybody to watch his back because he has to go away. MJF says, look, I'm fine. Everything's going to be great. A lot of people are, after me. But the guy behind my mask, I'm going to kick his ass, yada, yada, yada. The masked guy cuts into the screen and starts laughing. I don't know if the people in the building could see that. Would have been weird if they could. But Samoa Joe comes out, says there's a time for celebration because he being MJF, defended both of his titles successfully. Now Samoa Joe is going to be there today to ensure that MJF is going to keep his side of the deal and make sure he was a man of his word. MJF said for Samoa Joe to blow him, and it was muted on comment. It was muted, but I read his lips, and he said, "Blow me." Samoa Joe grabbed him by the neck because he was about to kill him. Adam Cole begged and pleaded with Samoa Joe not to murder MJF and said that, hey, the old MJF would say something like that. The new MJF, the guy who's my best friend, he's a man of his word. So he basically shamed MJF into accepting it. MJF said, okay, fine, I'll fight you tonight. Samoa Joe was not interested in that because MJF just had a hell of a match on the pay-per-view. He's still injured. He's not 100%. So he says he wants his title shot at World's End. And until then, MJF is going to be his property. And nobody gets to touch his property without his permission. So he's going to make sure that MJF makes it to World's End 100%. And then he's going to choke him out and beat the shit out of him in front of his family and his friends in his own hometown. And that needs to happen, by the way. look, I know everybody likes MJF. Yeah, I like MJF too. That's great. His shtick is running kind of thin with me, but okay, good. He needs to lose that belt. And Samoa Joe needs to win that belt. For me, look, MJF, I like the kid. I think he's good. I like how seamlessly he went from heel to babyface. I thought that was very good. Of course, now I think we've gone over the ledge. And he's a little too babyfacey. But mostly, I think it's time for him to lose the title because I don't see how this storyline continues or even has a big payoff with Adam Cole injured for an indeterminate amount of time. That seemingly was what had become the central piece of MJF's title run, is the will they, won't they turn on each other between him and Adam Cole. Now, if Adam Cole can't be there, then who is he going to bounce off of? I guess they're trying to put Samoa Joe in that spot, but Samoa Joe's character is fairly straightforward. It's all temporary until he gets his title shot. And then what? And then you have to think about the central conflict from that point forward. You got Joe. Let's back up a little bit. Before, you had Bullet Club Gold. So you had him fighting the Guns. You had him fighting Juice Robinson. You had him fighting Jay White. So you had somebody else aggressing against MJF and somebody for him to push back against. Now, you don't really have much of anything. There's no direct feud. He's got a match with Samoa Joe coming up. But is that a feud? It's basically he's giving Samoa Joe the shot that he earned. That's it. Where's the heat? Somebody needs to have some heat. So we need to either reveal who the devil person is or make that person more involved, or we need to move Wardlow into that position and make Wardlow the guy that MJF is going to feud with. So Wardlow was backstage curling steel because they saw Brock Lesnar do it. So now Wardlow's doing it. In any event, nevertheless, Wardlow was asked directly, what are you waiting for? Because I'm thinking the same thing. And I was waiting with bated breath to hear his response. And then he said the downfall of the devil will be on my time. And I was like, okay, well, you're going to let Samoa Joe kill him? Because that apparently was about to happen. Anyway, AR Fox, very random guy. Extremely random. Walked up to Wardlow, basically said he was making excuses, blaming other people for his negativity and how he's not, doing anything in the business. He got headbutted for his trouble. Wardlow just decided to headbutt him. I don't know why he used his head. If you get into any kind of fisticuffs or any kind of physical confrontation, if a motherfucker used his head as a weapon, he's got to be slightly DD. He's not worried about giving himself a concussion, knocking himself out, or anything like that. That's problematic for me, cuz. A punch would have done just as well. A punch would have done just as fine. But AR Fox got knocked on his ass because he was all in Wardlow's business. And I was wondering, why is he in Wardlow's business? And Wardlow was right to hit him because a random guy walked up to you trying to give you life advice, trying to be your uncle or something like that. Who the hell are you, cuz? So AR Fox earned that headbutt. He really did. Now, in terms of these segments, Samoa Joe's promos are very good. He's very believable. He's actually massive in comparison to MJF. I like Samoa Joe. He's very smooth on the mic. He's very colorful. I'm down with it. MJF is good, but it's been the same thing with this cringe humor and the DX kind of blow me, who wants to suck me off kind of crap. And I was like, oh God, I'm tired of hearing that shit now. But I am interested in Samoa Joe versus MJF. Only if Samoa Joe wins, of course. How do we get to World's End from here? That's the question. They didn't seemingly set up a direct feud. So I guess we're going to be in limbo until we figure out what's going on. Or they're just going to throw some randos out there for MJF to beat up until then. All right. Also, when it comes to Adam Cole, he wasn't done for the evening. He was backstage. Says that he was proud of MJF for sticking to his word. And then Roderick Strong, Adam, he strolled over there, says that Action Andretti dropped him on his head. Did you see the show? And Adam Cole said he did see the show, but he's got to get through his head that they're not best friends anymore. And he hobbled away. And Roderick Strong looked at him with great ferocity, as if something bad was about to happen. And I was like, well, I understand why they're not best friends anymore. I mean, the guy cut your grass with one leg. I wouldn't be your friend either at that point. You know, you spit out my peanut butter and jelly sandwich. You wasted my peanut butter and my bread. Well, matter of fact, no, that was Roderick Strong's peanut butter and bread. You wasted my energy in terms of me making the sandwich. So yeah, I'll be pissed too. Sorry. Not best friends. That's kind of, best friends will at least eat the crust. They'd try the crust. Crust ain't that bad. Come on, dog. Get over it. Stop being an adult. Oh, this got to cut the crust off. What are you, a kid? The Patriarch. He was next. Christian Cage says he went home, thought about this, how to get the stench of this lost off of him. He said he didn't lose. Nick Wayne didn't lose. Luchasaurus lost. So then he said he's going to recreate them in his image in order to get rid of the stench of defeat. He demands Luchasaurus to get down on one knee. Luchasaurus hesitated at first before Christian Cage called him a moron. Then Luchasaurus got down on one knee. And Christian Cage said that the name Luchasaurus is associated with losing. It's the name of a loser. Then he says that he wants to give him a new name. He wants to give Luchasaurus a new name. One that is strength. One that he can be proud of. And he says that Luchasaurus is his finisher. Luchasaurus' new name is Kill Switch. And Luchasaurus looked, I don't know what that reaction was. It was, I thought he might have been honored. And then it looked like, and that was kind of it. Nick Wayne kneeled, and then Christian Cage told him he didn't have to kneel. He should never kneel to another man. He's special. He's the son he's always wanted. And then he looked him dead in the eyes and said, "You're the prodigy, Nick Wayne." And I was like, wait a minute. You missed a prime opportunity to call him Nick Cage, to adopt the kid. He said he loved him. He didn't adopt him, give him his last name. You know, oh, come on. I know there's an actor named Nicolas Cage, but come on. Come on. This could have been fun. Plus, who cares about Nicolas Cage? He sucks. He's literally the worst actor in the world. Nicolas Cage, top 5 worst actor, and he ain't 5. I can tell you that much. Who's slightly better than Nicolas Cage? Nick Wayne's mom. She's slightly a better actor than Nicolas Cage. But the prodigy. We already have a prodigy. Isn't that girl in NXT? Didn't they call her the prodigy? They got a lot of well, they also call the kid in NWA the Golden Boy. So there's a lot of people running around with those nicknames. They're kind of generic, so. All right. I thought it was going to be something cooler, something that he could really lean into and make something. But they didn't. They just went generic with it. Anyway, the kid's mom comes out. All hell breaks loose. So Christian Cage immediately starts tearing into her about being a terrible mom, that love isn't enough. She can't provide for her son. She was a waitress making $40,000 a year, that this is embarrassing to Nick Wayne, and that she should be glad her husband is dead, because now Nick Wayne is being raised by a real man. I mean, Christian's just so disrespectful. Jesus Christ. Say that Buddy Wayne isn't half the wrestler or the man that Christian is. And then he says that he wants her to get out. And then he looks like he's going to make a move on her. And then Luchasaurus stands in the way. Christian demands that Luchasaurus get the hell out of the way. Luchasaurus won't move. So then he slaps Luchasaurus and says that if he don't move, he's going to make him remove his mask. And then Luchasaurus still won't move. So Christian shoved Luchasaurus and knocked down Nick Wayne's mom, who was standing behind Luchasaurus. So because she fell down and hit her head on the ropes, she was apparently dead all of a sudden. I mean, it was a gunshot. It was JFK job. So she was just laying there. Nick Wayne goes outside of the ring, gets a chair, and is going to get Christian to concerto his own mother. He's going to concerto his own mom. Okay. So he hands the chair to Christian. Christian thoughts better of it. He gives the chair to Luchasaurus. He demands that Luchasaurus do it. So then Luchasaurus, who just a second ago wouldn't even get out of the way so that Christian could remove this woman from the ring, is considering hitting this woman with this chair. This makes sense. Let's continue. Luchasaurus is considering it. So Edge's music hits. He runs to the ring. He stops this whole shenanigans. He spears Nick Wayne, chases off everybody else. He beats up Nick Wayne. Then he drags Nick Wayne to the middle of the ring. And then Edge gives Nick Wayne a concerto while Christian and Luchasaurus walk away, while the boy's mom is in the corner watching. Holy hell. Holy hell. Oh my God. There's so much of this that don't make sense. Let's take it bit by bit. The beginning part. Christian's team loses. So he says, I want to get the stench of this loss off me. So I'm going to rename you guys in my own image. That's good. All right. I like that's great heel shit. I like that. The next part is Luchasaurus gets a new name. He's named after Christian's finisher, the kill switch. So basically, it continues what Christian has already said about Luchasaurus. And that is Luchasaurus is his killing machine. He's his right hand. He's my finisher. You're going to finish the job. That actually is good. That's a good idea. Luchasaurus being verbally abused by Christian. Not sure why. Okay. I get it that he lost that match, but to go to the extent that he did, I don't know, a bit much. Luchasaurus rebelling against Christian. A little early for that, I think. You know, a little early for Luchasaurus to find a spine and to basically be like, I'm not going to do what you tell me to do. Yes, you want to keep Luchasaurus as being a sort of a monster, which is what they were building up from the beginning. But originally, this push was about Luchasaurus, right? Christian was brought in as Luchasaurus's voice. And through the power of Christian's promos, he basically took over this goddamn thing. So now Luchasaurus has to play second fiddle. All right, so second fiddle, you can't jump out the box too soon. Let it work. Let the heat build. Luchasaurus should have just taken a new name, worked under the new name a few times, and then started to rebel. But they did it all at once. So, all right, Christian renaming Nick Wayne, the Prodigy. I already spoke on that. It's generic. It's fine. When the mom comes out, Christian cuts the promo on the mom. The boy is just standing there. By boy, I mean Nick Wayne. He's just standing there. Similar to the previous promo segment they had when Christian went off on the mom and the boy just stood there and actually sided with Christian. So it's just a repeat right there. Then Luchasaurus rebels again, standing in the way to protect the mom. All right. Okay. If we're going to go that far, why then would he consider hitting the mom with the chair? That shouldn't have even been up for discussion. He shouldn't even took the chair. Like he was raising the chair and I'm like, wait a minute. A minute ago, you wouldn't even let Christian get to her. Your heart of gold was shining or whatever. And now you're conflicted about like, what's the conflict? You've already decided you're not going to do this. You're not going to let anything bad happen to this woman. You've already made that decision. Okay. Why isn't it consistent? But they needed to have a hero. And then, of course, Edge is going to end up being the hero. Which is fine. Okay. Now, the woman, she is sitting in the corner. She was half dead not too long ago. But now she's watching her own son get his head smashed in right in front of her. And I looked at this and I say, man, Edge, destroyed an 18-year-old kid in front of his mom. This is some American History X shit we got going on here. Where, you know, Nick Wayne, I mean, he's a terrible kid, sure. He's kind of buggy whipped. You got that Adam's apple lump in his throat. He looks like he goes to an SEC school, sure. You know, he's a young punk. But do we really want to crush his head like a grape instead of trying to show him how much his mom cares about him? The mom should have stepped in and stopped it. That would have been a big pop for the mom. It would have reminded Edge that he's losing himself in this situation. Mom should have jumped in there and just jumped on top of her son, and then that stopped Edge from hitting him with the concerto. And then she looks up and she's like, stop, what are you doing? You know, he's just a kid, what are you doing? And then Edge got to be like, oh my God, this is what Christian is doing to me. He's making me lose myself. That would have been so much better than Edge being a badass and crushing Nick Wayne's head. You have to understand how baby faces and heels work. How good guys and bad guys work. You had a sympathetic baby face in the mother. You had a heroic baby face in Edge. You had somebody who was conflicted in Luchasaurus. There's ways to do this in which everybody looks good. Luchasaurus looked like shit the moment he considered hitting this kid with the chair. Luchasaurus is an idiot. Edge looked like shit the moment he hit the kid with the chair. He's a kid. He's in his rebellious kid stage. It's not that serious. The mom looked like shit by just letting it happen. Why didn't her maternal instinct try to tackle Edge, grab him by the leg, grab the chair or something? And come on, man. Look, they had the right idea here with this segment. I'll give them that. Christian, again, wanting to get rid of the loss and to basically exert more control over these guys. That was good, you know, but I'm sorry. We're going to crush Nick Wayne's head in front of his mom. Okay. Is that what a babyface would do? Only if Nick Wayne was like the lowest form of life. If he was like Dominic Mysterio, then maybe. Maybe you could get away with it. But Nick Wayne is kind of a young punk who's been influenced by Christian. Christian is the guy who's the problem. He's the devil here. You know, he's the guy whispering in Nick Wayne's ear. He's the problem. The mom should be the person representing that. Should be the person saying that her son's a good boy. He's being influenced by Christian. You know, he's always wanted to be a wrestler. He's always wanted to be world champion. Christian's a former world champion, and he's taken an interest in him. There's a lot of different ways for you to go with this, and would have made it so much better, and more sympathetic. Because you can give Nick Wayne sympathy. All right? He hasn't gone overboard yet. He is teaming with Christian, and that sucks in terms of being a heel. But he hasn't drank anybody's blood. You know, he hasn't, you know, done a home invasion. He hasn't done anything that can't be forgiven yet. So you can't crush his fucking head yet. If you want to crush his fucking head, he has to do something terrible to beat somebody. He has to, you know, he has to do something horrible to somebody. And he hasn't done anything like that yet. Like, so that's why I'm thinking, like, you know, the rush to do a concerto probably didn't need it. And then we had Luchasaurus save Christian at the end to show that he's still brainwashed. That was fine. But we should have not had the conflict if we was going to do that. It should have been no conflict between them. We should have just let Christian verbally abuse Luchasaurus. And just say, get your dumb ass down on one knee. And then Luchasaurus does it. And then he names him Kill Switch. And Luchasaurus just kind of accepts it. And then when the mom comes in, Christian gets in the mom's face. And Nick Wayne doesn't do anything. He stands in the shot, just stands there. And then, you know, you're looking. What they were trying to get to was the scene with the mom laying down and Christian with the chair. That's what they wanted to do. They couldn't, maybe having that scene was not necessary. What they could have done is had Christian look like he was going to punch the mom. Maybe even reached back, maybe even threatened to. And then Edge's music hits. and then he runs out there. You know, that would have been a little bit better. Of course, it would have been like, why would Christian stop a punch? It's like, okay, well, why would Christian not cash her fucking head in too? You know, like there's a lot of different things that you can go for here. But I like the idea. It's just that the execution is executed by somebody who doesn't understand drama, or somebody who didn't understand the characters and their roles in the story. You know, you had all the pieces that you needed. Even if I don't individually like any of these pieces, you had the pieces that were necessary to do what you wanted to do in this story. It's just unfortunate that you chose to use the pieces as they did to get the pop of Nick Wayne getting his head crushed when you didn't need to do that. It would have been a bigger pop if the mom would have stopped them and if Edge would have stopped them. Especially if you're going to keep using the mom. You don't even need to keep using the mom, really. You could have just left the mom in the past. But it would have been a better story if the mom would have stopped it. Because then you're showing her maternal instinct. You're showing that she does care about her son. And then you could have her talk to Edge backstage and just say, look, he's confused right now. All this, you trying to crush his head stuff. Are you trying to help him? Or are you trying to kill him? Which one are you trying to do? You know? And that's something that you could use. But now, Edge just crushed the kid's fucking head. Why shouldn't Edge do some crazy shit like, you know, kidnap Beth Phoenix and throw her off a bridge? You crushed the kid's fucking head. So now you justified everything he does that's terrible from this point forward. Because you went too far. You know, proportional violence. You know, it has to be proportional. When you're a babyface. When you're a heel, it doesn't matter. Okay? So, I hated that. I hated that part. And I hated the Luchasaurus stuff. But I like the idea. Alright, now this I liked 100%. They did a Toni Storm Championship celebration in which she, I guess, was in the crowd. And Renee Paquette and RJ City, like the Oscars, said the winner of the AEW Women's World Championship is Toni Storm. So then she, barefoot, walks up the ramp, accepts the championship, has a speech written already. She thanks the women in the locker room, Anthony Khan, Warner Brothers Discovery, and all the little Tonys out there. And then it says for them to stay in school because this is her spot and they will never get it. They can never be like her, and they should probably go get a trade. It got a huge reaction to it. It was very good. Then she danced around, blew some kisses, and Mariah May brought the AEW Women's World title to Toni Storm. Of course, this was interrupted by Sky Blue, but at that point, all the good stuff had already happened. So this was good. The Toni Storm Championship celebration was probably my favorite segment. You know, it was unique. I had never seen anything like it before. It really put over her character. It works for the character. She went out there, baby-faced a little bit, healed a lot, and it looked good. You know, she looked great doing it. It was in black and white, which is her gimmick. It's a spoof of an award show, which is perfect considering her gimmick. And I liked it. I thought this was great. Now, this episode of Dynamite, I wasn't a big fan of. Not a huge fan of Dynamite. I forgot to mention this, so I'm going to mention it here because I meant to mention it when I was talking about Edge, but I got so wrapped up in the storyline. Edge did an interview, I guess, where people were saying that he was a traitor to the WWE. And he says basically it's like, you know, making movies under a different studio. And if you like the movies under this studio, you should like the movies under this one too. And yeah, that's perfectly reasonable. No wonder I forgot. It was completely reasonable. And everybody who's running around screaming that he's a traitor or whatever is a goddamn retard. You know, get over it. Guys getting different jobs. What are you talking about? In any event, this Dynamite was, oh my goodness, too much of this tournament stuff. Look, again, this tournament is not going to be my cup of tea. I got to watch it because I follow this stuff, but I'm not 100% bought in. The angles that they did, I hate everything about that Ruby Soho stuff. I don't care about that at all. The Toni Storm stuff was good. They did not really focus on a new opponent for her, but they kind of teased that Sky Blue might be an opponent for her. Unfortunately, Sky Blue just lost to Julia Hart, so she probably needs to be built up a little bit more before we can take her seriously as a contender. The Edge Christian thing, I thought it was okay, you know. I give it an okay, what it could have had. It had the potential to be great. It had the potential to be a really solid segment if somebody would have sat down and devised a way to work the characters better. It would have been really good. They did a storyline with Chris Jericho, which I forgot. He apparently got jumped by Ricky Starks and Big Bill. I don't really care about that either, because Chris Jericho and Kenny Omega as a tag team, why should I care about that? I don't give a damn about that. It's very unfortunate. So I don't like the tournament, which is most of the show. The 6-man tag was absolute tragedy. The girls' triple threat match is a lot of booty, not much else. Like the Christian stuff for the most part. Like the Toni stuff, that was good. So I'm not even going to say thumbs in the middle. I'm going to say thumbs down, because the tournament is so much of the show, and I hate that fucking tournament. But I'm going to give everything an opportunity to grow on me. And maybe I end up being wrong, and in a couple of weeks, this Christian thing end up being really good. You know, the tournament will produce matches that I will like Roosh and Jay White. I really like that match. So the tournament is going to produce matches I like. The storylines, if you keep doing outrageous shit, eventually you'll create something that'll be good, or at least something that's engaging, even if it's not great. It'll at least be engaging, and people can talk about it and be interested with it. So I like that. I like the Samoa Joe angle, even though I think MJF promos have gotten entirely too long, and especially where there's so much fluff in them. The early part is him just doing shtick. Nobody's on the level of the devil. You know, I'm like, oh, brother. Okay. You know, and there's a lot of shtick in wrestling today, if we think about it. The Miz, Seth Rollins, Cody, MJF. There's a lot of guys doing shtick. LA Knight. Just come out and basically just has nothing to say. Just come out and do the greatest hits. And drop my line. That's what you want to hear, right? Whatever. But I think that there's good elements here. I just think some of it's undercooked, which is usual for AEW. But I'll give them a chance. Give them some more time, you know, at least to develop the things that they have created, not for the company in general, but some of the stuff that they have been building over the last couple of days. All right. So let me know what you guys think, and I'll talk to you guys later. Happy Thanksgiving. I salute thee. To everybody who doesn't celebrate Thanksgiving, still eat well, and I'll talk to you guys later.